On today's episode of the podcast, I'm talking with Dr. Jake Berman about tips that you can use to not only prevent back pain when golfing, but also hit the ball farther off the tee. I think you're going to really enjoy this episode. And if you do, please subscribe to our podcast so you get notified of our future episodes. And now on to the show.
You're listening to the St. Louis Pain Expert Podcast with Dr. Dave Candy, St. Louis's leading expert in chronic pain relief. Dr. Candy specializes in helping women age 40 and above to overcome chronic, nagging aches and pains without medication, injections, or surgery, so they can stay active, mobile, healthy, and independent. Whether you're suffering from pain yourself or know someone who is, pain's a universal experience that affects us all, but that doesn't mean you have to suffer. Knowledge is power, and having the right information can help you or someone you love get on the road to recovery. On the St. Louis Pain Expert Podcast, Dr. Candy talks with other pain experts from around the world to give you the information you need to recover, the peace of mind of knowing that you're not alone, and the hope that lasting relief from chronic pain is possible, and it doesn't require relying on pills, injections, or surgery in order to do so. So sit back, relax, and open your ears, mind, and heart, and let the healing begin.
Welcome to the St. Louis Pain Expert Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dave Candy. I have with me here today Jake Berman, owner of Berman PT in Naples, Florida. And he also has an online course that teaches people how to hit the golf ball farther off the tee called Swing Like a Pro. So I think you're really going to get a lot out of this episode. Welcome, Jake. I'm glad to have you here with us today.
This is super exciting. Thank you for having me.
So, Jake, you're a physical therapist, but you are also kind of now in the world of sports performance with golf. Can you tell me how you got from injury prevention to sports performance?
That's a great question, and it was an unintentional consequence, actually. So down here in Naples, we're in one of the meccas of the world for golf, where just in Naples alone, we have close to 100 golf courses, and most of them are private. So there's only a handful of public ones here. So golfing is huge down here in Naples. So over the years, we had unintentionally started specializing and working with golfers, male golfers aged 65 to 75 with back pain. And our goals were to get rid of their back pain so they could get back out and golf again. However, one thing that we started to notice over the years was not only were they able to get out there and golf with less back pain, but they were starting to hit the ball further off of the tee. So it wasn't until recently, over the last 6 months or so, where the light bulb kind of went off, and it's like, wait a minute, this is something that we should be pursuing here, because it's hard to play golf without back pain and not actually increase distance off the tee, because it's the same exact muscles. The same muscles are required to increase distance off the tee that are required to play golf without back pain. So that's essentially how I got into the performance aspect of this.
Well, let's go kind of back to where you started with the preventing and treating back pain when golfing. What are some common things that cause back pain in golfing?
The number one cause of back pain in golfing is overswinging. And the number one reason why it happens is because after the age of 50, in general, our bodies don't work the way that they used to. So before the age of 50, a lot of specifically male golfers can get away with using momentum in the golf swing versus using muscles in the golf swing. So this gets in a little bit more of the nitty gritty. However, when you use momentum, that works fine when the body is pliable or flexible and loosey-goosey. But as we all know, after the age of 50, we're not as flexible as we used to be. We're not as pliable. We're not as loosey-goosey as we used to be. So we can't get away with using momentum. However, we still try to swing the club as hard as we always did, because now after the age of 50, the ball is not going as far as it used to. So males, just our nature, our egos, We want the ball to go farther. So the first thing that every male tries to do is swing harder. The problem is, if you're not using the right muscles, you're going to be using the wrong muscles. And this ultimately leads to overworking the low back, because from a biomechanical standpoint, the low back is not meant to twist. It's meant to bend forward and bend backwards. It's not meant to twist. However, in the golf swing, we know that it's a twisting motion. So again, when you're not using the right muscles, you're using the wrong muscles. And the wrong muscles are the low back muscles. And that's what ultimately leads to back pain.
So if the low back muscles are the wrong muscles, that begs the question, what are the right muscles to use during a golf swing?
Great question. So for the purposes of answering this, let's talk about just a right-handed golfer. You'd obviously reverse it for a left-handed golfer. So for a right-handed golfer, the two most important muscle groups that generate power in the golf swing are the right glutes and the core. So if you don't use the right glutes and the core, you're going to use the things that are in between, which is the low back. So we can look at it anatomically. If you look what's in between your butt and your core, it's the low back essentially. So if you're not using the core and the butt, you're using the back.
Now, are there any other common injuries that you see in golfers besides back problems?
Sure, there are. However, most of them can all be stemmed back to the same problem, which is if you're not using your core and your glutes, you're going to be using something else that shouldn't be used to generate the power. So if we've got golfer's elbow, for example, a lot of people that'll be familiar, they'll hear golfer's elbow. What's the number one reason why people will have golfer's elbow? Again, because if they're not using the core and the glutes, they're not generating the power that they should be generating with the golf swing, which results inevitably with over swinging with the arms, or what we call arm swinging. So now you're taking this club and you're trying to swing it as hard as you can with muscles that are not strong enough to do the job you're asking them to do. And that's ultimately what leads to the elbow flaring up and causing golfer's elbow. Other ones can be knee pain, shoulder pain, neck pain. But again, I will argue that every single injury experienced in golf over the age of 50, it's different under the age of 50, but over the age of 50 can be attributed in one way or another to not using the core and the glutes efficiently.
And so obviously it's hard to describe on a podcast, but what are some easy, actionable take-home tips that people can use to use the core and the glutes more efficiently?
The easiest one you could possibly do is go ahead and get into your golf stance position. So get up like you're addressing the ball and you're getting ready to swing the club. When you're in that address position, 99% of the time, 99% of the people that I've worked with do not have their core engaged. If you don't start in the right position, how the heck can you end up in the right position? You're setting yourself up for failure. So back to that address position, and the first thing that I want you to do is just pull your belly button in. Now, there's lots of ways to activate the core. However, this seems to be the most simplest one to describe over a podcast without visuals. Just pull that belly button in. We call it the paparazzi pose. So imagine walking down the beach, shirt off. You never know when the paparazzi is going to take the picture. Pull that belly button in, hold it in there. So now we've got the core engaged. Now the next one is one of the easier ones to visualize conceptually is we've got our setup position, core engaged. Now let's go into the backswing. This is where we're going to activate the right glutes. So again, we already got the core engaged. Now, as you go into the backswing, think about pushing your right foot through the ground in the backswing. That will help you engage the right glutes and prevent you from straightening the right knee. If you straighten your right knee, it's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to engage your right glutes. So again, in summary, at address, pull the belly button in. That's going to get the core firing. Keep that belly button pulled in as you go into the backswing. While you're going into the backswing, think about pushing your right foot through the ground. That's going to help you keep your right knee flexed and not straighten it, which will engage your right glutes. Those are the easiest ways I can describe it over the podcast.
Okay. And so by activating your core and activating your glutes better, you can prevent back pain while golfing. And that also, as a side effect, helps you hit the ball farther?
Yes, it's actually physically impossible to not hit the ball farther if you follow these steps. And the reason why it's physically impossible to not hit the ball farther if you follow these steps is because we're generating more power. We're using more muscles. We're using more muscles by doing these techniques or strategies than we were using without doing these techniques or strategies. By definition, if you use more muscles, you're going to generate more power. Power is then converted into club head speed, or let's say it this way, power is then converted into torque. That torque is then converted into club head speed. Increased club head speed results in longer distance. I'm not saying that the ball is going to go straighter or get rid of the slice or anything like that, but I am telling you that it is scientifically impossible, physically impossible for the ball to not go farther if you utilize these techniques.
Now, you've got an online course that tells more about these techniques and other tips that people can use to improve their distance off the tee. Can you tell us a little bit more about that course for people who may want a little bit more information?
Sure. So that course is called Swing Like a Pro, and it's essentially an automated version of what we're doing with our clients in here every single day. So we do golf performance sessions live here in the office, and we also do these golf performance sessions virtually over Zoom. However, the stuff that we're doing in these sessions, I just went ahead and I put it into a course to where it's a one size fits most version of what we're doing, customizing to you here in house. So the one size fits most version is going to take you through the basic fundamentals of what to do with your body to get it to be able to utilize the correct muscles. So if you don't have the flexibility or the mobility of certain joints, you're not going to be able to get the core to fire and the glutes to fire when you're going through this golf swing. So the Swing Like a Pro course takes you through all these things. It's going to take you through flexibility drills. It's going to take you through alignment drills. It's going to take you through posture drills. It's going to take you through some strengthening exercises that will help train your brain how to get these muscles firing so it can happen automatically when you're swinging the golf club. And then the bonus at the end of the course is the last video, the last course is geared all about preventing back pain. Because again, just like the way we started this podcast, they go hand in hand. If you increase distance off the tee, you're going to be using the muscles that prevent back pain. So it's just going to hit that in a little bit harder and say, okay, not only are we going to increase distance off the tee and hit this swing the club like a pro, we're also going to prevent back pain.
Oh, great. We also have a lot of people here in St. Louis who winter down really actually in the Naples area. So what is the name of your clinic, and how would someone who may be listening to this either in Naples or who winters in Naples get in contact with you if they wanted a little bit more individualized help?
Thank you. So our clinic name is Berman Physical Therapy. That's Berman with a B as in boy. So Berman Physical Therapy, or BermanPT.com is where you can go to our website, and then there's a link on there for the golf page, or you can just go to BermanPT.com/golf to look at our golf testimonials. You'll see some really good testimonials on there from guys that are increasing distance off the tee by over 50 yards. So that's a great place that you can go and just get some more proof from other people, where I'm not paying these guys to say these things. This is just what's happening. These are real life people. And that's probably the best way to get in touch with me, because there's all sorts of opt-in forms there where you can put in your email address and you can get emails from me, and you can download free reports. You can do all this stuff and have no commitment at all. So that would probably be the best place to start.
Well, that sounds great. Thanks for taking the time to share your information with us today. Are there any closing thoughts that you'd have for someone listening to this who wants to either get back to golf after an injury, prevent an injury, or just improve their golf game?
Yes, this is my favorite one. The slower you go, the farther it will go. So the slower you go into your backswing, the farther the ball will go off the tee. And the reason why this is true is because the slower you go into your backswing, the more muscles you will keep engaged throughout the entire backswing, which means you have a chance at keeping them engaged in the downswing when you start to attack the ball. So the slower you go, the farther it will go. Remember it, practice it, use the technique of saying your first name, middle name into the backswing, and then your last name on the downswing. So that gives you the tempo that you need. Whatever you need to do. Think of Matsuyama maybe, even though in the Masters, he completely got rid of his pause at the top of the backswing. I don't know what that was about, but look at his earlier rounds where he would actually pause at the top of the backswing. It's physically impossible for him to not be using muscles to swing the golf club, because it takes muscles to stop the club at the top of the backswing against gravity. So the slower you go, the farther the ball will go. Those are my closing statements.
Right. Well, that was outstanding information. Thank you again for taking the time to join us, and we'll get all those links that you mentioned in the show notes so that people can get in touch. Have a great day.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks for listening to the St. Louis Pain Expert Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you live in the St. Louis area and would like Dr. Candy's help to find a solution to your pain, visit our website at stlpainexpert.com. Email Dr. Candy at dave@stlpainexpert.com or call Dr. Candy's clinical practice at 314-941-3970. If you're listening from outside the St. Louis area but would still like some help, feel free to contact us to learn more about our virtual health coaching. Regardless of where you live, please share our podcast with anyone you know who would benefit from learning more about pain and what can be done to relieve it. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google, Spotify, or your other favorite podcast platform so you get notified when we release a new episode. Thanks again for listening, and we hope you'll enjoy us again soon.